time once again to go racing.
It does not get any better than this.
The pressure is really on now.
Yes, it's pole position. Lights out and we're racing in PSGL.
The first lap has been absolute chaos.
What an overtake.
Oh no!
I've never seen anything like it.
Side by side again. This will be settled right at the end.
Good evening then everyone, and welcome along to round 3 of the F3 PC Championship here at Premier Sim Gaming Leagues. My name is Paul Zytrix Buckley. I will once again be bringing you all the action, joined once again by Sam in the commentary box. It's good to have you back, Sam. We're going to Monaco tonight. It's going to be chaos. Well, we'll bring up the standings to go through it. It was in fact Paul Eckelmeyer that won round 1. And yes, he had a bit of a dodgy race last time out. I've just realised I should have muted the desktop audio. My wife reminding me that I forgot to do it. So yes, it was nobody caught your gaff there, Sam. It's quite all right. It was in fact Paul Eckelmeyer that won the first race, and then as you can see on the standings on the screen, Paul Eckelmeyer, Carter Lundy. I'm getting my own words mixed up at this point. Won last time out. We saw, in case you weren't here for it, thrilling race around Silverstone last time. Saw Carter Lundy take victory to strengthen his title fight after his 2 in the first race at Portimao. With Eckelmeyer did not have a very good race at all last time out at Silverstone. Dismal performance all the way through and had to retire from the race in the end, which extends Carter's lead that little bit more. We saw Morgan Ball take home P2 after race-long battle with Lundy and his teammate Jake Finch, who ended up P10 in the end with all the penalties he took on after crossing the line P2 on the road after that brilliant fight throughout it. The podium rounded out last week by Alvaro, who stuck with the lead battle the whole way. And thanks to those penalties for Jake Finch, took first points and first podium of the season. So already moving himself up to P6 in the standings as well. So things have definitely started to take shape following the race last time out. And we are, of course, here for Monaco this evening.
Yeah, and of course, we look at consistency when it comes to these championships. Every single car is equal, which means equal opportunities for these drivers. And because, of course, we've had so many different... we've got so many different tiers now in PSGL. The closeness of how these grids are now is absolutely... there is no difference between them. You could be the best on this grid and still qualify something like P12, and that's your race absolutely done. Particularly here in Monaco, where, as we mentioned earlier, overtaking is very, very much a luxury at this track, which is obviously is quite the same as the circuit or the place in Monaco itself. Quite a luxury venue. But yeah, qualifying is going to be so important for all these drivers, as a lot of them now are just about starting their laps.
Yep, so we will cut in to the qualifying now then to catch these laps from the drivers very shortly. I will, while we just load into qualifying, run you through the track if you don't know. It is, of course, one of the most famous tracks on the calendar. The Principality, 19 corners, 3.3 kilometers through the gorgeous harbours on the southern coast of France. See the altitude changes as well, going up the hill through Beaurivage and up to Massenet. Back down through the hill and down into the Nivelle chicane. There's plenty of action spots if you can find the place for action on the circuit. Is part of the trick of Monaco, is finding a place for the action on the circuit, as we do see action on the circuit. A few drivers already out there on their laps. We can see one of the McLarens just coming up the hill now. This is Chris Houseman on his opening lap. And Sam, why don't you talk us through this one?
Oh, well, I was looking on board with... sorry, who are we looking at? Because I was looking on board with with Leonard at the moment, and he's just been caught off a lap from Milan. So I've completely missed who we were on board with at the time. I think, obviously, Carter Lundy's on an out lap. I'm looking for someone who's just starting on a lap. I think that is literally Carter Lundy. He's going into turn 1 now, and he's absolutely sliding through the corners then as he comes up then towards Casino. And this is quite tricky through here. Turn 3 and 4, I think, at Monaco. Turn 4 and 5, I think it is, actually. And then coming down towards one of the tightest, if not the tightest, hairpin on the Formula 1 calendar. You go down to 28 miles an hour there in Carter Lundy's case. And again, sliding through the corners, being a street track, a grip is quite limited as well, particularly early in the session. Now through the tunnel comes Carter Lundy, and now we're going to probably one of the most trickiest things I think we saw. I think was Simon Weigang earlier this week on Twitter. He posted, I think it was Simon Weigang, either him or Liam Parnell. One of them posted one of the trickiest corners that you have that to get perfect, and that is that chicane. And a lot of the chicanes about Monaco is around the same. He's just gone through a swimming pool where Charles Leclerc obviously had a bit of a crash there a couple of times as well. As he comes through now to the final corner, what's Carter Lundy going to set? It's P3 at the moment, and it's a 1 minute 8.9.
Yeah, so the time's coming in thick and fast, and they're all pretty close together as well, as we take it out over to Carter Lundy's teammate, Christian Houseman, in the other McLaren, just coming into the tunnel, coming down the hill towards the Nivelle chicane. But yeah, you can see the time's coming thick and fast. Sindell's still on pole with that 1:08.7 at the moment, down back to Leonard as misses this braking point a little bit into the Nivelle chicane and has to bail across the runoff, which one of the few areas of the track that does have runoff you could do that on. If you're going to miss a braking point, that would be the spot to do it. But has he taken too much out of the tyres at this point to go in for another lap, or is he going to, in fact, he's clipped the wall around the Rascasse as well and taken a piece of the front wing off for good measure, so that's going to bring him in. Time set just yet. We have got Jake Finch in the Red Bull to finish on the road out in Silverstone. Penalties relegated him to P10. We'll want to be trying to bring back some of the damage from that P10 finish. Only a single point there. Last out with a good performance here. We've seen in qualifying last time out, he does have the talent to do that. Did he just clip the wall there and get a bit of damage coming through the hotel chicane? He might well have done. He has pulled over to let the AlphaTauri through. They see. Doesn't look like there's any damage on that car for now. Perhaps just thinking that lap was over and he's going to go for another one in a moment. As we've got yellow flags. Jorge Albarola's retired from the session. I'm wondering if that might be a Mercedes. Yellow flags. It could be Jorge Albarola actually. Oh.
Yeah, I think Albarola's just made a small mistake there. That's what's happened to him. I'm not too sure. It don't look like an orthodox place you'd literally retire, and because he hasn't set a proper lap. That's the thing around Monaco though. Perfection is absolutely needed all the way around the lap. So we obviously talked about that particular chicane, which requires a lot of concentration to perfect it. But Monaco itself, and one thing that is very tricky for the drivers tonight is going to be that whole factor of holding people up on their laps. Because Monaco is so tight in certain areas, particularly through Sector 3, as we see Paul Eckelmeyer going through there now. Through Sector 3, it is so tricky to let cars through. Like, if you're in the position where Eckelmeyer is in now, just at the exit of the chicane, you've got to dodge quickly out of the way, and you've got to obviously start your lap very soon as well. So, you know, you've got to either compromise your own lap, or you've got to compromise someone else behind you, which obviously will result in a penalty. So, you know, it is a pick and choose, really, for that scenario. But Paul Eckelmeyer, he doesn't have trouble with the traffic. Fortunately, he goes P5, and as I say that, Morgan Ball is straight to the top.
Yeah, 108.755, just a few of a second as we're seeing it out in front as well. I think that's for the slow-moving McLaren that Morgan Ball has just gone around. There is the McLaren of Carter Lundy, in fact, who's going to be going out for another bite of the cherry. As that's just as well. Was that Leonard in the Aston Martin moving up to 3 now? And that's 3 drivers on 108.7s. We were talking about close qualifying times in that little bit of build-up we had a moment ago, and there's no more evidence of that than 3 drivers all on 108.7s at the moment. And I'm sure we'll see more. We had the same last time out in Silverstone, with the drivers all getting very, very close in terms of times on qualifying. Of course, unlike some of the other divisions you may see, we don't run the standard Q1, Q2, Q3 qualifying format here. We are running with a single 18-minute session. The drivers will just be able to go out and do as many laps as they can to get the best time on the board as they can. That does, of course, mean there's potential for traffic issues. Not that we've seen many so far. So touch wood, it will stay as that looked like an Alfa Romeo clouting the wall coming through Anthony Nogues there onto a lap as well. And of course, that Harlan Marquis who's following Carter Lundy around now as Carter climbs up the hill through Beau Rivage and then into Massenet, this blind left-hander, and then you're quickly darting back over to the right again at Casino, watching that bump on the exit, and then you're into the tight, twisty bit of the circuit through Mirabeau Reuter, down into the hotel hairpin, and then the second part of Mirabeau, but you can see the first sector for Carter Lundy is purple on the board now, through Portier and into the tunnel we go. And I tell you what, one thing I'd love to do one day is be in the tunnel when a Formula 1 car goes through there, because even with what people say is the sort of lesser noise they make nowadays, I bet it's still quite a sound through there. Nevertheless, Carter Lundy now is through the Nivelle chicane and into to back, brushing the wall as close as he dare into the swimming pool section. Backed off of this lap, in fact. Say that. So not a competitive time now, but will possibly be another one on the board coming soon.
Yeah, I reckon Carter's just slightly clipped the wall there, or he's realised he is down on his time, because even if he was purple through Sector 1, he could have improved on, he could have had the faster Sector 1 before. It does look like he is going again, though. He has been sliding out of that Turn 1, though, quite a lot. Although that's good for qualifying, I wonder what that'll be like for the race. But he is sliding out that first corner a lot, and he's controlling it and managing it quite well. He is one of the drivers, like many really, not only in this division, but like that you find in PSGL, who've got a lot of experience in go-karting in real life, and obviously they're able to handle, or they understand like how to know when the car is losing the grip, and knows when to obviously find the grip. They are so confident, a lot of them. You notice that about a lot of karting drivers. They tend to be there's a lot of karting drivers, or drivers in real life. Like Formula, I think Jana Watmir got to Formula Renault for one season or so, and that's what I mean. The confidence these guys are meant to find on the throttle is so different to say someone who hasn't even driven a car in real life before. And for Carter Lundy, as someone who is an experienced go-karter, and around the streets of Monaco as well, a track that has been known to not have the most grip. And obviously one of the most trickiest tracks, if not the most trickiest track on the calendar. He's gone and put it onto provisional pole position ahead of Christian Sendel.
Yeah, so all that sliding must be doing him some good for the lap times in qualifying, but they might be a different pace in the race. He could through those rear tyres. For now, though, the 108.6 first driver below the 108.7s. They'll just have those 3 drivers all very, very close together. And now taking a look at Haro. What his second lap at this set of tyres. We do see him currently sitting down in P5. Podium finisher, of course, last time out. Not particularly fast through there, so perhaps that could have just been a trick of the light, or it could have been him pulling in, but he is still going. We'll see when this lap comes through. Crosses the line, and it was a 1:16.0, so it was definitely not a push lap, as Paul Eckelmeyer now also breaks into the 108.6s, 108.5s the Aston Martin, and we're seeing this fight potting up again between Paul Eckelmeyer and Carter Lundy, They are getting very, very close on times once again in qualifying, and Paul Eckelmeyer is going to have the bit between teeth this week to try and make up the losses he made last week. That poor race around Silverstone. So pole position is the perfect start to this race weekend for him.
Yeah, so far it is looking like a two-race championship when it comes to wins. However, we cannot discount Morgan Ball at the moment. He is in P4 as well. We still have quite a lot of time actually. 5 minutes in this qualifying session, so still a lot of things can happen. But for Paul Eckelmeyer and Carter Lundy being at the top two, that is giving us some sort of direction where we're going to be, perhaps at the end of the season, for us. But we never know. Still, obviously, a very long season to go. We're still only really getting started, and like I said, still quite a while in qualifying to go. All drivers will have a chance to set one more lap, but for Carter Lundy and Paul Eckelmeyer, it's looking very positive for both of those drivers because they are showing some real talent early on in this season.
And it's start as you mean to go on, and I mean I've done league races before where the champion hasn't particularly shown a tremendously strong start, but over it towards the end as the calendar sort of shifted into more their driving style, and I'm not going to roll that out here just yet, but for now it's definitely a certainty that Paul Eckelmeyer and Carter Lundy at the very least are solidifying themselves in that title fight. As we take a look at Krysik's about to start lap down in P11 at the moment, so just outside the top 10 in the Haas. See what he's able to 09.3, currently his best 2/10 behind Jake Finch in 10th. Now, a bit of a surprise for me, just seeing Jake Finch down in 10th after what we saw last time out in Silverstone, so perhaps some more time to be found there for the Red Bull driver. But nearer to where his teammate is, said before, sitting in P4. As pretty much all the drivers now are coming out for their outlaps for what will be their final flying stint of the session.
Yeah, well, we talk about Jake Finch. A lot of drivers tend to have that sort of different edge with Monaco. Very few people love the track, to be honest with you. A lot of people basically never touch the track, and in Jake Finch's case, it could be that, literally, he doesn't like this track because Monaco is so different to Silverstone. Silverstone's very fast flowing. Silverstone is very open as well as a track, and it's very opportunistic. And there's not really much risks when it comes to crashing, particularly in qualifying, of course. Whereas in Monaco and everything, you've got to be so cautious, but yet so quick. You've got to be the quickest driver on the grid, obviously, to get your pole position, and with
What's
that,
going
obviously,
on here?
I mean,
Sorry to
where are we
interrupt you
looking
there,
at?
Sam. I've just seen
Oh.
Harlan Marquise and Marcus Thorler have had it coming together. So I saw it pop up saying Marquise penalty and do it, and we saw the Alpha Tauri burst into the wall at the entrance to Rascas, and we measure Marquise as overcut at turn 1 as well. Invalidated this lap, so I don't know quite what's happened towards the end of that, whether they were fighting for track position on this final set of laps.
Yeah.
Well, Mercedes pulling nicely out of the way there.
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting. I don't know what's happened to Morgan Bull either, and yeah, that Mercedes really has pulled out the way. Jake Finch has gone and joined him. I don't even know if that Mercedes was even intentionally doing that. Something's going on in that corner. That should be our main attention now. Still a lot of people yet to set their final laps, and they're all on to their final laps. Quite surprised people who've gone quite early, and we've missed Leonard. Leonard's gone absolutely blisteringly quick over everyone else, so just shows that there's still a lot of potential out there, particularly for Leonard. If this is the best Eckelmeyer, Carter Lundy, etc. can do...
That is the best Eckelmeyer can do. He's clipped the wall coming through Casino and ripped the wheel off.
Wow. Well, then it's down to Carter Lundy, isn't it? What's he going to do? He goes second. So for Carter Lundy, and it's definitely not looking like he's going for another one. So that is the McLaren out of this session then now, basically, because he's not going to get another lap time out of it. Eckelmeyer, obviously, as you said, in the wall, pushed a bit too hard. And the rest of them, except for Milan and Hausman, Milan's not even pushing. Hausman perhaps has a chance, but he's only 1/10 up. He's got to find 6 tenths in only a couple of corners, so I cannot see him going pole position, and that's quite poor as well through that last 2 corners, and he went quite deep into that second to last corner, and then through the line, he's only up to P10 and he hasn't changed position, so it does look like Leonard's going to get pole unless someone's going to come out with something absolutely majestic in the last few seconds.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm not quite sure what's happened towards the end of the session as well. You've seen a lot of drivers retire, which is normal, but there seems to be bits of car just about everywhere on the circuit. You still see one of the wheels back there from that collision back on my hand. And I was taking a look at Houseman coming across the line there as well, and there was another wheel there, so somebody's clearly had a moment on the main straight coming out of Anthony Nogues. Houseman invalidates what would have been his final lap of the session. Carter Lundy is definitely not on a lap right now, and in fact, I was about to say he does have time to do one if he wishes, but he doesn't wish. He has indeed finished the session off by coming back into the pits. Who is still out there? Milan is out there at the moment and improving in P9. He's not improving enough to threaten Leonard for pole position, but could be on his way up the grid a little bit for the time being. 109.022 is coming best. He's about a tenth up at the moment as we came through the tunnel. Through to back. What time can Milan find in this final sector? Coming through the swimming pool now, trying not to do what we've seen a Ferrari do here before this year. But last year now, time does fly, but he does manage to keep it out of the wall as we head through Laras Castleton. A bit wobbly through there into Anthony Nogues, hard on the power. The back end's trying to step out all the way. And does he improve? He does, up to P7 for Milan, so it was an improvement, not enough to threaten Leonard. And I think that does mean that Leonard does start this race from pole, even though his car is currently MIA.
Yeah, I mean, what a lap from Leonard. I don't think we even saw it to get pole position. He only managed to the point threes. Carter Lundy is not far off, though. It looked like those two are quite in a world of their own, but I don't think we saw the most of Paul Eckelmeyer, of course, because he had a crash-up moment. But once again, obviously I recall back to Portugal, but once again, the Aston Martin team of Leonard and Eckelmeyer being at the top of the grid. And there's a lot of Germans who are some of the quickest in here as well. The top four is German, except for Carter Lundy. I think there was a meme earlier of all these Hungarian guys around one of the British drivers in an event thing, but which made me laugh. And Carter Lundy must be feeling that right now. He's a Canadian stuck in between all these German drivers around him, and particularly with Monaco, there's not much space for him to move much.
Yeah, he's absolutely flying the flag for the American continent, at least, right now in a field of Europeans. Two on the grid. It's what he can manage from there. He's had a second place and a win so far, and I'm sure he'll want another win to add to his collection, but he's going to have to work for it around the streets of the Principality as we get ready to racing here at Monaco. So the grid, we'll do another quick rundown of that in a moment once everybody's in and we're on the formation lap. But for now, get your predictions in the chat on YouTube. Let us know who you think's going to win this one. Is it going to be a simple procession, the Aston Martins and Carter Lundy walking away with it? Or are we going to see some surprise strategy perhaps? We've seen in the races so far this season, alternate strategy can come in. If you cast your minds back to Portugal, Harlan Marquez almost made that alternate strategy work very, very well for him. We could see something along those lines play out now. Obviously, the overtaking part of that is going to be a bit more difficult, but on the softer tyres versus the mediums later on, it could happen. So it's still going to be all up in the air. It's by no means done and dusted just because we are at Monaco, and we've got potential for safety cars, potential for race-ending accidents. There's so much chaos around Monaco. I wouldn't want to predict it, but here we are then. Cars lining up ready for the formation lap. Leonard on pole with Carter Lundy onside him on row 1. Eckelmeyer having to settle for third after that crash in qualifying alongside Christian Sendel with Morgan Paul and Alvaro behind him. Milan and Kreisix taking up row 4 with Houseman and Cadorn and Golo rounding out the top 10. Jake Finch and Jay Vaggy on row 6. Jed Norgrove, who had a penalty. He did qualify faster than that, but had a 5th-place penalty down alongside Bryn on row 7. Marcus Thorle and Jorge Alvarola down on the 8th row of the grid. And Harlan Marquez rounding out the drivers. Starting out this race, we've got 17 on the grid. And Leonard is currently leading them through that slow hairpin and into the tunnel on the formation lap.
Yeah, and I completely agree with you on you cannot make a prediction at Monaco because we could get a really boring race like we did obviously in F1 in real life, and what we do usually get in F1 in real life every year. But this is PSGL. This is some of the most talented drivers in the world on the F1 game, which is different to F1 in real life. And these guys aren't mistake prone, but when it's at Monaco, mistakes can be made. We've already seen a couple of people out in qualifying, and that just tells you alone what race we could be in for. It's going to be exciting. It's going to be unpredictable. When if any drivers get under pressure early, so say Leonard gets under pressure from Carter Lundy, we could see easy mistakes and avoidable mistakes which cost them damage, and not even that could even cost them their entire race. So it's going to be a really entertaining one, in particular as well, with the two Aston Martins out of front. If they are in contact with each other, if they are talking to each other with strategy and everything, I'm very interested to see what they are going to be doing.
Absolutely. So much action to come up through 39 laps around the Principality of Monaco. Then we saw the predicted strategy, earlier stops. We should be coming in around about lap 10. We get ready to start lap 1. The drivers are on the grid. The lights are coming on. That's 4 and 5 lights. And we are away. We are racing in PSGL in Monaco, and it's a great start from Leonard as well as Sendell, who looked like he was coming up the inside there. But single file through the first corner, you can see sniffing around as well as we come up the hill now is alongside to be a bit of a ghosted car. There's a bit of a jumping going on, but everybody's somehow staying okay for now. I'm assuming that is just a spectator thing, but for now we are coming through the first sector of the track. Then everybody single file as we head down through the hairpin. Leonard still leading from Carter Lundy and Ecclemire with Sindel, Milan and Alvaro, but you can see Kreisix and Morgan Ball shuffling away for positions for 7th and 8th, as well as a few jostles going on further back.
Yep, there's damage. There is damage towards the back. I think that is Marcus Towler or Bryn. Without a wing, I think it's Bryn. No wing for the AlphaTauri. He's got to make the long journey back to the pits. There's also no wing on a Haas as well, I think, of Jed Norgrove. So a lot of wing damage towards the back. I think that was more in the hotel hairpin, where they've all made that sort of damage, because I know there was a lot of cars going around all over the place there, and I think Harlan Marquise as well. Either that or he's just miles behind everyone. And there we go, all of them into the pits. And well, for those guys, it seems to be a bit of a panic station, but I would recommend retiring, because as we said, safety cars, they're almost inevitable here in Monaco.
Yeah, and interestingly enough, Sendell comes into the pits as well from what was P4, I believe. So he must have sustained some damage as well on lap 1. We'll have to rejoin with the rest of them back end. You can see he's now back on track now, down in 14th position. Gone onto the medium tyres. I'm not sure he's going to be able to drag those things out for 37 laps. I'm sure he'll give it a damn good go, or whether he's going to try and two-stop it. We'll have to wait and see. But for now, things remain as they are out for the lead. Leonard still out in front ahead of Carter Lundy and Ecclemire. Lundy stuck in, I think not for the first time this season, a bit of an Aston Martin sandwich to the grid. And these three are pulling out a little bit of a lead now as well. Alvaro almost in a bit of no man's land before it's a little bit of a jump back to Milan, Kreisix and Houseman, who are also grouped together. And we can see a few more pit stops coming in now. Alvaro, Milan coming in.
Yeah, very interesting strategies going on. I don't know whether this is for wing changes. We'll have a look. It doesn't look like it's a wing change for Alvaro. Milan, I think, was a wing change, but I don't think it was for Alvaro Puerto. Sorry if I've absolutely butchered that. Again, a lot of the Spanish names I tend to butcher, but I don't think that was for a change of wing. And considering how far the Ferrari of Milan has come up behind him, it does look like Alvaro's just come in for a pit stop, and he wouldn't make a two-stop work, but he's definitely going on the mediums very, very early in this race, and well, he's going to try and make them to the end, or he is gambling on a late safety car, perhaps.
That way, as we do see our first retiree from the race. We were talking about him before being the Portuguese master of the alternate strategy. He's not going to make it work tonight, as he has retired from the race already on lap 3. And now this is interesting. The race leader, Leonard, into the pits on lap 3 as well. As you can see, the McLaren pit crew out as well. Both Aston Martins in, and Carter Lundy and Kreisix all in. And did Eccleware have to wait? I can't quite tell because he's just dropped down the order. I think he absolutely must have had to have waited to get in the pit box because of his teammate being in. How much time has that cost him? You can see Carter Lundy's coming out now. With Paul Eccleware just behind Alvaro and Kreisix. Currently showing ahead on the timing screen. I think may just have Alvaro ahead for now. So he has lost a position in all of that. Christian Hausmann now leads the race.
Yeah, and well, Hausmann will be coming in soon. I'm very interested to see why so many have gone off the softs so early. Obviously the mediums could go to the ends, but are the softs really not in their prime? I suppose you could argue that because Christian Sendel's been on the mediums for 2 laps now, so he came in very early, and he's now sitting in a high dry second place when you consider all of the guys ahead of him still have to pit. And Carter Lundy down to 3rd, and Alvaro has passed Eccleware, but we said about Eccleware, he has lost a ton of time to all the guys in front. In fact, he's almost near Milan. It's like he's made a pit stop for a new wing, but he hasn't made a pit stop for a new wing. It's just the fact he's been screwed over by the pits because he came in the same lap as his teammate.
Yeah, not working out for Aston Martin, and Christian Hausmann has stayed out. And just touching on what you were saying about Sendel making gains in that opening flurry of rather unexpected pit stops, he did set the fastest lap of the race for the moment on those medium tyres whilst the race leaders were coming into the pits. So whether they had seen that and decided that those mediums were the right call, but have they decided a little bit too late with Sendel having made a few gains during all of that as well? And how much is the soft tyre going to hurt right now? We have got Morgan Ball, who I believe may not be in session, and Christian Hausmann currently out there on that soft tyre at the moment. And how long is Hausmann going to go? All of his rivals around him have pitted for that medium tyre already. Keep them going as we see the first time penalty for track limits coming in this evening for Jake Finch.
Yeah, well, obviously there's that factor as well, but Monaco tends to be quite easy on the track penalties, so for Jake Finch, it's not good news for him, because obviously not many people I don't suspect would be getting penalties. I could be wrong, but obviously Morgan Ball, he's not here. It's quite a shame he's not in the session. Obviously one of the early title contenders, and unfortunately it doesn't look like he's going to be really in this race for the rest of it now, as Marcus Towler's dropped down. I'm not too sure for what reason. I think he's just been overtaken there by Kodorningolo. Again, I'm going to butcher that name forever, aren't I? But anyway, Morgan Ball, he's just going to drop down. Alvaro is going to try and keep with Carter Lundy, and Carter Lundy's job is a bit larger. He's got to try and get past Christian Sendel, otherwise he's lost quite a valuable second place, I'd say, in this race.
Yeah, valuable for sure for Carter Lundy, but it's definitely not as bad as it could have been. What we were believing to be his main title rival, of course, was Paul Eccleware, who got screwed over by the double stack. So as much as Carter Lundy's got his work cut out for him to get back past Sendel now, Paul Eccleware's got even work to do. Isaac's ahead of him, Paul, Ghost, Alvaro, and then Carter Lundy himself ahead. So Carter's got one car to get past as we see Jake Finch coming into the pits. Now I was wondering, is there going to be a nose change for this car? Yes, there is. I saw it coming through the hotel chicane for Jake Finch last time out. His luck went from bad to worse. He just tapped the rear end, the car in front, and while it didn't look visually like there was any damage, it was enough to bring that car into the pits. So both Red Bulls having a torrid time here in Monaco right now. But Hausmann still staying out in the lead, and clearly thinking the predicted strategy that showed up is still the best one. So in a few laps time, around about 4 or 5 laps time, I think, we should probably expect Hausmann to come into the pits, and then we'll see really how bad those soft tyres were, where he files out of the pits once he does so.
I mean, the thing is, at the moment, is that Leonard, he's got back markers to come out, and they're on the hard tyres, so they're going to be on them for quite a long time, and they're going to come back with these guys really quick. In fact, they're coming right up too at the moment. They're racing. If none of them were going to pit, this is great news for Eckelmeyer and those around him. So Kreisig gives him a second opportunity to potentially close in. If Leonard can't get past these two very quickly, which it doesn't really look likely, it's Monaco again. There is a difference, unless obviously Jorge Alberola and Jay Farage allow them through nice and quickly. This is going to be very interesting because not only is this going to affect Leonard's race, it's going to affect Sendel's, Lundy's, and Puerto's as the drivers behind them in Kreisig and Eckelmeyer are able to close in. Even Milan could make back what obviously the time loss was from the wing change. And this is what we meant earlier. In Monaco, it's chaos, and this isn't exactly chaos. This is just more the fact that, these guys need to get past these slow, hard drivers. Otherwise, everyone's just going to close up again, and anything could just go completely wrong because of pressure, and everything just goes berserk again. So we're in for a very interesting race now because these back markers are in the way of these front runners, and they are not obliged to let them go.
And you that then we have just seen one of the back markers let him go, as that was Jorge Alberola coming into the pits, which sort of parts the waves a little bit for Leonard. But you could see how frustrated he was getting behind the wheel, coming down the hill towards the Nivelle chicane. You could see him looking for a way past any which way he could, but had to move back in, had to tuck in, and go slower to not go into the back of the Mercedes as well, because that's the other thing. You've got to be so careful if you are going to get past these, what will be back markers later on. Find a careful way to get a bit of damage. That could absolutely destroy your race around here. One tiny bit of wing damage would be game over at this circuit. As you can see, Leonard now closing right onto the back of Christian Sendel, and will he try and send one into Kane? In fact, he's closing in on Jay Verhage, beg my pardon. It is Sendel that's behind him, and he's now in an Alpine sandwich coming through what will be the swimming pool section, but he cannot get past Jay Verhage whatsoever, and Sendel is going to be wanting Jay Verhage to defend like a lion in that Alpine. As the back end came out there a little bit, but he's called it in.
Well, he's coming to the pits, and for Christian Sendel, it's not a great exit, so he's not going to get the opportunity. And well, the defending like a lion didn't exactly last too long, because soon after you said that quote, he was into the pits. So the defensive efforts from Verhage wasn't exactly like you said, like a lion. It was just defend till you get to the pit stop, which he has done now. So for Leonard, he's kind of got a bit of a breath of fresh air, but obviously he's still going to have that massive pressure behind him of Sendel and Carter Lundy, and because he's now nowhere near anyone in the DRS, all these guys behind with the DRS will be able to close in. It just all depends if they can get a good enough exit to attack him into turn one, and obviously or set themselves up through the tunnel.
Sendel's just picked up a time penalty for track limits going through the Nivelle chicane, so that really throws a spanner in the works for his plan at the moment. And Carter Lundy will be licking his lips at that. Once again, his driver in front he's battling with has picked up a penalty fairly early in the race. We saw it last time out as well, with the penalties coming thick and fast for a few of the drivers. And once again, Lundy behind Sendel now, who has just picked up that 3 seconds. Does that add an element of pressure to Lundy that he's going to be ahead of Sendel one way or another? Will he want to clear him even quicker just to get it out of the way and chase after Leonard? Or Leonard runs away as he's already started doing?
I mean, for Carter Lundy in this situation, you got two things. You want the race win, or you want the P2 here. It is likely he'll be keeping with Sendel. I don't think it's too difficult to follow at Monaco, but if he wants that race win, he's got to get past Sendel as quickly as possible. But he must be thinking in his mind and everything, this is Monaco, one mistake and that is my race completely done. So for Carter Lundy, he is probably going to be cautiously sitting behind Sendel now, knowing that that P2 is pretty much there for him as long as he doesn't make any mistake.
Yeah, so it will be interesting to see that play out through the rest of this race, as you can see just how close Leonard was getting to the wall at the back there. Just see a puff of dust coming off the side of the car, clipping the Armco. No damage done as we once again head out onto the main straight. And looks like Lundy's dropped back a little bit for the time being. Second gap now as Sandell is sticking right with Leonard for the moment up the hill as a position change going on a little bit further back. Norgrove and Jorge Almirola battling it and duking it out for P11 and P12. But this is the battle to focus on. This is the next lead at the moment. Leonard currently running ahead of Sandell, and Lundy is the current net podium. Gonangolo and Marcus Thorler staying out on their starting tyres for the time being and running long.
Yeah, I mean, they're running long, but I mean, look at Christian Hausmann. He stayed out later, and he's all the way down in P10, and he's quite on his own. The longer that Gonangolo and Marcus Towler stay out, then possibly they'll either fall behind Jed Norgrove, Almirola, and Verhaeghe. And yes, they'll have soft tyres, but they have no real big overtaking opportunities that threat a driver every single lap. So for that and everything, Marcus Towler and Gonangolo, I don't think they've really got the strategy really to play with at this point. I think they've just got to be quite fortunate with safety cars potentially, and that's perhaps what they're thinking. If we stay out now, potentially we'll see a safety car because those mediums do last very, very long.
Yeah, and as the time goes on, potential for a safety car increases. As of course, it's not just a case about sitting there and going round and round in circles. There is a lot of focus and a lot of concentration required for this, and as fatigue starts to set in, even in what is only a 39-lap race. The amount of concentration that you need for this circuit, fatigue is always a threat, and as that starts to sink in the later stages of the race, we start seeing mistakes coming from anyone in the field. And as soon as that happens, it could completely change the face as we see it right now. So, yes, we're on lap 13 of 39, but there's plenty still could happen. Never know around Monaco. Race leaders make their way through the swimming pool once more, and they are now catching on back, it looks like, of those two lead cars of Gonangolo and Marcus Thorler. And we could well see a traffic situation playing out again with Leonard being stuck in front of what would be the back marker, and will that slow him down, and will that bring Sandell and Lundy back into it?
Well, I mean, I don't know, but I think Sandell, he clipped the wall or something. I don't know whether he's got damage or not. He's obviously lost a lot of time to Leonard, and he's losing so much more time to what he was before. I think he did clip the wall in swimming pool slightly, which obviously means that is why Carter Lundy's closed in quite a bit. But I don't know whether he's sustained any damage. He seems to be keeping it roughly now 1.2, 1.1 seconds to Leonard. But for Carter Lundy, obviously he's closed in. But it does literally look like Carter Lundy now is just... He's just keeping it calm now. He knows that he's got that P2 as long as he doesn't make a mistake. And he's just making it cautiously round the circuit, just obviously with enough pace to keep himself within some sort of reasonable distance so Sandell doesn't get away. And this is what I mean. Carter's backing out slightly, it looks like, because he's now 1 second behind Christian Sandell again. He's kind of just sticking in that sort of zone at this point. For Sandell, he has closed back to Leonard, to be fair to him, since he's got away from Carter Lundy, so it does look like there's no damage on the Alpine. And Leonard, I think he's just chilling in P1 at the moment.
Yeah, and just touching back on Carter Lundy with his seeming plan playing out as it is. We know from Silverstone last time out that there's a lot of mental capacity in the Canadian driver. He can do a lot of thinking while he's behind the wheel of these cars. We saw last time out, as we take a look, Jorge Almirola has had a moment. That is, where's that? That's Massenet by the looks of things. Very, very stuck at the moment. It looks like he's Austin Powers it a little bit on the road. In fact, he had maybe quite sure the car will turn around. But going back to what I was saying before we got distracted by the hilarity of a Mercedes stuck sideways on the Monaco Grand Prix circuit.
That's not good. That's not good though, is it? Because those drivers have got to go through there, and there is a ghost of Mercedes.
Still there, actually, yeah.
Oh, there we go. It's disqualified him from the session anyway, so I mean, for Alberola, it's not good because on his standings now it's going to say DSQ, but obviously we don't have a spinning Mercedes to distract anyone, so woohoo, I suppose. I didn't mean to interrupt there.
No,
But,
it's all's well that ends well. I assumed the car would have been gone, but apparently it wasn't. But going back to the point with Carter Lundy and the capacity, heard in the interview after the race at Silverstone, last few laps, he was figuring out in his head where to be, which position for him to optimal finish, all whilst keeping up with that lead battle and executing that plan. So we know he's a driver with a lot of mental capacity. So you can tell behind the wheel of that McLaren, he's doing the same thing this week. Sendell's got the penalty, and he's figuring out in his head where he needs to be, where Sendell needs to be, and where Leonard
what's
needs
happened?
to take the race win away as the yellow flags are waving around chicane.
Yeah, I think it was Kryzik. I think he may have done that thing with his rear tyre where he's clipped the corner and it's just spun him. I don't think he's got damage. Obviously, time will tell if he comes into pits or not. Don't look like he's got damage. He's in P10 at the moment, though, and for the Haas driver, not exactly what he would have wanted. I think he's only lost 2 or 3 positions, though, so it's not as bad as perhaps first perceived, but really, I think the interesting thing is the top 2 at the moment. They're going to be seeming like a bit of a pain for Leonard Sendell, particularly Sendell, who was actually making good progress getting away from Carter Lundy, and who knows, it could have been proper pace from Carter Lundy where he is literally just struggling. And once again, because of these front runners being slower, that's kind of neutralised things. So Sendell has got to basically do all the work again, potentially, if, of course, Carter Lundy's pace was actually just legitimate and not quick enough.
Yeah, and if you're Leonard at this point, he's going to be channeling his inner Moses once again to try and get through these guys, but it's not going to work this time round. They are staying out for another lap. So Codonangola and Marcus Stoller become the rolling roadblock for Leonard's progress in this race. And Lundy closing in on this as well, as we are seeing a nice little train of cars now coming up the hill and through Massenet. Race leader, of course, of a desyncing going on there. And as that ghosted Marcus Stoller, had for a second, be back.
I don't know. Oh, a little tap at the rear. Marcus is fine still, but a little tap there from Leonard. That just shows the desperacy. Perhaps he started to feel a little bit to get on with it, perhaps, because Marcus and Cordon-N'Golo, of course, much slower than Leonard at the moment. Leonard able to really just push, and the more frustration that creeps in, maybe that was a warning just then as he went over the chicane, went over the corner there. So got to be careful now, because this frustration can turn things into penalties. And for Carter Lundy, he's just got to sit behind these guys, and if something happens to Leonard, he's in a prime position, really.
You're absolutely right. Perhaps a signal of intent for Leonard that he's going to come charging at Marcus Stoller any time soon. It's not happening this lap. Sits back behind the Alpha Tower going once more. It will be interesting to see if he does choose to strike, or if he's just going to sit here and pray that nothing bad happens whilst he's waiting for these guys to come into the pits. Lap 19, so I imagine it'll be fairly soon that we will see Codonangola and Marcus Stoller coming in. Top for the soft tyre starters was around about lap 10 earliest. Still possibly got 10 more laps behind these two guys, if they choose to go long and keep those fresh softs for later on. That could be vital.
Well, the mediums, they look like they're going to last a long time, because there's no doubt in my mind the likes of Leonard, Carter and Sendell, they're not going to do a 2-stop. I think it'll be a bit stupid if they did do a 2-stop around Monaco. Obviously, unless, of course, they're just all praying for a safety car. But they all came in early. They all trusted the strategy, obviously, except from perhaps Hausman and Verhaag. But at the end of the day, all of them went for the same strategy, pitting lap 2, lap 3 sort of time. So that suggestively means the mediums can well, they probably can go the full 39 laps, but you have to do a pit stop. But Marcus Towler, he doesn't have a teammate left in this race. Brent's out of this race for Corden N'Golo. His teammate's also out of this race, so they're really just driving to close the pack up. They're like kind of quick safety cars in this instance.
They are indeed, and the term rolling roadblock is probably going to get thrown around a lot talking about this race with these two, but they are perfectly right, of course, to stay where they are. Still for position, no blue flags at the moment. It's by the nature of the stops that they happen to be ahead of everybody else. And Leonard is definitely being held up. I thought he was going to take a look into Mirabeau coming around on that last lap, but decided better of it in the end, which was probably for the better, because I don't think Mirabeau's a position that's going to work out well for you. As Marcus Towler pulls across to the side of the road. Did he hit a wall there, or is he just courteous to the drivers behind him?
I mean, he wasn't inclined to let him overtake, was he? So he must have got damaged, but he is allowed to do that if he really, really wants to. Obviously not to cause him any hassle, but I do suppose he has picked up a bit of damage there. I wonder how the Mercedes in P1 now is going to deal with it, whether he's going to let him pass or whether he's going to just be a blockade for the rest of his stint. And how long his stint will last, who really knows? But at the moment, Leonard's got one more car and then he's home free, just to run away for a bit. For Sendell, at the moment, he is basically stopping Cartalundi from giving Leonard potentially a fight. And well for Cartalundi, I don't think he's really fighting or urging Sendell to get past us. Oh, we have an incident, and it is Kryzix. Are we going to see a safety car here?
Highly possible, I'd say. Looking at that, I just took a look at Jake Finch coming through there, and he's gone wide on the exit of Casino. And sort of almost exactly like we saw, in fact, I say wide on the exit, looking at car wreckage, exactly like we saw in qualifying with Paul Eckelmeyer lying on the outside of turn 4. The car's been moved, so perhaps we won't see a safety car after all, but that was close to being a safety car, I'd say, so later on, and I believe Marcus Towler has come into the pits. He has indeed, for the soft tyres, so you may have been right there, a little bit of damage. Decided his best option was to get out of the way.
But even with that, Marcus Towler, look at him, he's 11 seconds behind absolutely everyone at this point, and this is what we mean about Corden N'Golo. Although he's going to be ahead by a few more seconds, he's still going to most likely be at the back of this train by a good 2 or 3 seconds of everyone, and catching up to the pack doesn't seem too hard with the fresh soft tyres. It's more about overtaking them, though. Overtaking them is the difficult bit. And no one knows when he's going to pit. He can pit now, he can pit next lap, he can pit lap 38 if he wanted to. If he can make the tyres to the end, he might as well do it. If he believes his race is over, he's just going to be that sort of fun guy who just likes to, cause chaos, perhaps. And like we said, it's in the rules and everything of racing. He is allowed to do that. He is the lead driver. He's on the lead lap. He doesn't need to oblige to blue flag rules or anything here. He can hold up these drivers as much as he wants, as long as he's not doing it in a dirty way.
Yeah, which absolutely at the moment he isn't. He is holding his line. He's driving, I have to believe, as fast as those tyres will go, being 22 laps old. And that's the other thing. They're only 3 laps older than Leonard's tyres behind him, so it's not like there's a pace difference to take advantage of. And what may be deemed a nuisance by some drivers is giving us a great spectacle around Monaco at the moment, as N'Golo is bunching all of our lead pack together, and it's going to provide us with one hell of a finish, because yes, overtaking is tricky around here, but with everybody being following this close, we could well see some overtakes for the lead towards the end of the race. We may not. We'll have to wait and see, and I wouldn't want to guess now. With 15 laps remaining of the race, still anything can happen.
Well, yeah, of course, and one mistake it could cost everything, and particularly for Leonard and everything. If this is the thing, if Sandell or Lundy and everything, if they started challenging Leonard a bit more, like Leonard in particular would be feeling a lot of pressure being stuck behind, knowing he can't exactly escape from any attacks. But Sandell is just happy being where he is right now. Same as for Carter Lundy, he is happy being where he is right now. No one's overtaken. No one's exactly desperate. They're just going basically for the end result, it seems, which isn't the funnest way to do things. But obviously, it is for the drivers. It's probably the best way to do things. Leonard wants to win. Sandell wants as high a position as he wants. But if he wants the highest position, he'd want to clear those two in front of him. But he knows virtually that is impossible to clear these two ahead of him, because this track is still so narrow, and well, there's still not much opportunity to really overtake.
Yeah, with one of those, and see action towards the end, or we could see drivers deciding to play it safe and just bank whatever position they found themselves in, take the points away, get ready for the next round. Wait and see how it plays out, but everybody is still running very close. You can see, time being, Leonard almost pushing N'Golo through the hotel hairpin. Looked like he was trying to, he had a camera mounted on the nose of that car. He would be looking very intent on that Mercedes, looked like. For now, he's still behind for now. It carries on in this centipede of F1 cars through to back. And what would be very interesting, I think, right now is if we did see an incident somewhere down the field that brought out the safety car, what would that throw at the rest of the drivers? We've seen Marcus Stoller coming out on the soft tyre. They're very pacey at this phase of the race. He did get the fastest lap of the race. Would any drivers perhaps tempted by the soft tyre if we were to get a safety car in the next few laps? In theory, I think you could get the soft tyres to the end of the race, but it's whether they'd want to take the risk. I think the ball truly lies in Leonard's court for that one. He doesn't, I doubt anybody. And the same goes for the likes of Sandell and Lundy as well. I think if Leonard did choose to come in and take the gamble, I don't think we'd see Leonard. Let me sentence again because I lost my train of thought. If Leonard did decide to come in, I don't think we'd see Sandell or Lundy coming in. I think advantage of the fact that Leonard had all the work to do. So it'd be a tricky to figure out. Perhaps later on in the race, whether we see any risks being taken or any safeties being played. We've got 12 laps to go. We may see a safety car, we may not. We've seen a few collisions with the wall so far. Of course, Pryzix, Bryn, Harlan Marquis out of the race DNFing, and Jorge Alvarola, who had the incident with the wall and qualification parked on the involved there as well. I'm not entirely sure. But those are the 4 retirees we've had so far. 13 still running, and N'Golo is still out in at the moment, ahead of Leonard, Sandell, Carter Lundy, Alvaro, Ecclemire, Milan, Houseman, Judd Norgrove, and Jay Verhage rounding out our top 10.
Yeah, well, I mean, at the moment and everything, everyone's just really, to put it bluntly, they're just staying in positions. For Sandell, he's going to move down positions. It's almost like he's accepted that. Like, at this point, I don't think he sees really much opportunity to overtake unless there was a safety car. And, you said to the point and everything, I reckon it all would stay out. I think, well, Corden and N'Golo had to pit anyway, but I think all on those medium tyres at the front would probably stay out. I see pitting as a bit of a... Pitting now is just going to end your race, I feel. I don't think it's really a good idea, as we said about Corden and N'Golo. Look at him, he's all the way right at the back now. way behind Marcus Towler. He's on the fresh soft tyres, and the softs are caught up a lot. Marcus Towler was about 11 seconds behind Jay Fahagi only about 6 laps ago, so he's caught in very, very quickly. But like we said and everything, he'll catch up, but overtaking is a completely different question when it comes to Monaco. And you can even see on board with Marcus Towler, he is pushing the Alpine through, so he's got so much more grip than the Alpine. But the problem is his overtaking, as I think he's just clipped the wall slightly there. Whether he got damage from that, I don't know.
I think he does. If he didn't have damage from driving into the back of the Alpine, the hotel chicane, I believe he does. It looked like quite a hard clout on the wall. Whether he'll come in off the back of that remains to be seen. Still keeping up with the Alpine, so maybe it's not too bad at the moment. You have to think. Staying out, so nothing looking bad. Maybe there was no damage on the car, and I'm in. But like quite a hard cloud. This train of cars. We've sort of got two trains going on for the moment. We've got the lead train of Leonard Sindel, Lundy, Free Alvaro, and Eckelmeyer as well. All involved in one. Others post being jumped now by the Alpine. Beside each other for the time being. So whether Thor is disconnected from the session.
It's more the other way around, if anything. But, well, actually, no, it's not, because Jay Fahaj there was... Has he got damage or something on that? Yes, he has. He's got damage on... He's got damage, I think, on that right-hand side there. So for Jay Fahagi, that explains why he was letting those guys through, as he's bashing walls constantly now. That's going to do him no good. So whether Marcus Towler and everything on the soft tyres, we said about the grip, whether he's had a moment with the grip... where he's misjudged it and has tapped Jay Verhaeghe and obviously caused Jay Verhaeghe to slightly lose it. And the wall was caught in N'Golo. What a move! I didn't even see him coming at that point. I know Marcus Towler was a bit slow going out of the last corner, but Gordon N'Golo, very nice move there at Sandervoort, and obviously moves up to P9 then. Whether he can do the same to Jed Norgrove is a different question. Obviously, DRS trains aren't exactly famous for overtaking, but Milan is really just holding all these guys up now. 11 seconds between them and the top 5, so the top 5 really have just darted off from absolutely everyone. But I'm wondering what Gordon N'Golo will do now, because we talk about the soft drivers and everything. He is on complete fresh tyres, and the grip he has compared to the rest of them is so high, but you know, the overtaking opportunities is so low. So really, you've got to take every opportunity where you can. Like Ayrton Senna said famously, you know, if you don't go for a gap that exists, you're no longer a racing driver. So for Gordon N'Golo, this is probably exactly the words that he would have wanted to inspire him right now.
Absolutely, you can see him. He's trying to find gaps through every single corner. He looked like he was trying to find a gap front to back through the entire section. A little touch of the wall for Gordon N'Golo is side by side of the hill almost.
Yeah, Norgrove tapped the wall a little bit. I think he's got a bit of damage. Oh, Norgrove, that was a bit naughty there. Really squeezed the Mercedes, but the Mercedes comes back at him and he does take the position finally. Whether Norgrove got damaged though out of turn 1, because he went a tad bit wide, he tapped the wall. It looked like just with his wheel, but at this point he is literally moving back very, very quickly. So I think for Norgrove, he got a bit of damage on that left-hand side, and, well, unfortunately for him, Norgrove, obviously, I think he's just come from the Xbox side as well, so he's come over to PC as well recently, and, well, he obviously probably now is settling for P9 now for the Haas driver, but for Gordon N'Golo, he's got 2 more cars, and he's basically in the lead of, at this point, you could call it a split, to be honest. Because at this point, Milan has just been completely in a different... Well, these guys have been a completely different league to the guys at the front. And talk about the guys up front, Sendel has absolutely lost his pace compared to Leonard, who looks almost certain now to take a victory.
I was going to say, yeah. It's speaking of splits, that is what Leonard's done at the front of the field. 2.1 seconds the gap to himself and Sindel now, with Lundy a further second back from him. So it look like they're settling into their positions as Cardone is anything but right now. He is itching for a way past Houseman P7, and how many points can he pick up in this remaining section of the race? It's right along the back. Is he going to maybe try a little opportunistic Val chicane? It'd be very brave to do that. Yeah, I didn't think he would with a lot on the line. He's definitely got more pace at this phase of the race. 4-lap old softs to 21-lap mediums. Being on the inside of Tabac, you're never going to get a move done there. But you can have a look anyway. The swimming pool section we go. And how much is the DRS from Milan going to help Christian Houseman stay ahead right now? You can see Cardone right on that rear diffuser. McLaren, he head out through Anthony Notes and onto the start-finish straight. Which way is Cardone going to go? It looks like he's going side then towards the side and no line at all. DRS was that strong for Houseman, staying ahead for the time being. And this could get frustrating for the Mercedes because he's definitely got the pace right now.
Yeah, he'll need to get the move done soon because those softs don't last forever, of course. He's got to get this move done soon. The Milan move should be actually generally quite easy compared to Houseman, but I do have to give respect to Cordon. He's the only one who's been giving us any overtakes on track, to be honest with you. The rest of them have just sat behind each other and just enjoyed where they're at. And Cordon obviously a lot more ambitious. Even though these guys have got penalties, he is looking like he wants a bit of an overtake. He wants a bit of a battle. At the moment, he could sit if he really wanted to. Behind these guys is Houseman, I think, has a small mistake there. Cost him a lot of time. Milan's got away a bit. And for Houseman, still under a bit of pressure from the Mercedes, and it's really, really showing.
Yeah, well, we're yet to see the true pace of Cardone on these soft tyres, with this DRS train being in his way. I'm wondering if he's thinking there's a possibility to be able to catch up back on that. And I doubt he will, 4.2 second gap, but he can definitely have ambitions. And if the ambition is to try and catch up to P5, more power to Cardone in this race. That would be an exciting finish with those fresh soft sizing towards the front. With only 5 laps to go, I think that is nothing more than a pipe dream, fortunately, for the Mercedes driver. But nonetheless, he can still give us some action trying to get past these two on the road and move himself up to a P6 by that, not the penalties. But first, he has to dispatch of Christian Houseman. The Papaya car really getting in his way at the moment, and every time just can't get past on the main straight because of the DRS assistance from the Ferrari in front. In the swimming pool section, 8/10. Houseman's dropping a little bit possibly. Timing has just been, it's still 8 and a bit tenths. So Houseman holding that gap is potentially really not what Doningolo wants for the time being. He wants to clear this McLaren. Not easy for him to do right now. Is he going to get a move done this time as we head down the main straight? Because both of them DRS.
Oh, a little mistake.
A little bit like a mistake coming up the hill, but we capitalise on it and stay in formation once again. But itching to get past the McLaren right now. You can see anytime there's any tiny little gap, he's trying to put his nose in there, force his way through, just if he has to. I wonder if we'll see another little look to the inside of Tabac as we head through that section of the track. But we're going to get through the tunnel first and down towards the Val chicane. Don't think he's close enough to try any big dive bombs, so he's just going to have to settle in again. And it is really hurting Cardone race at the moment. As gaps.
I wonder if Milan is doing this intentionally now, though, because it seems to be in sector 3 where Houseman is keeping closer to Milan, and Cordon is just obviously not able to get an overtake done. And obviously Milan realises the potential of the soft tyres, particularly with the DRS, and he'd be a sitting duck. So I wonder if Milan is doing this rather intentionally to the point to keep Houseman within the DRS, just so Cordon doesn't attack him.
It would be an interesting strategy. That looked like Doningolo pushing the McLaren through the casino corner there. And out wide a little bit as well for good measure coming down here. The back. But it would be an interesting strategy. Of course, they've both got penalties at the moment. Both on 3 seconds. So it could be in Milan's best interests if Houseman gets overtaken by Cadorningolo. He does dive up the inside.
Oh.
No, he doesn't.
He's getting a lot. He's getting a lot of desync, isn't he? Is Cadorningolo behind this McLaren? We don't know when he's making a move. He makes a move 1 minute, and the next minute he's just ghosting through. And the next minute he's sat behind him again as Milan. Oh, that is a big mistake there from the Ferrari. He went well wide out of the exit of that corner, but once again, just not really under pressure from an overtake. He might actually be so now. Here goes Houseman, and they've ended up taking each other out. They've ended up taking each other out from that. Houseman's out of the race. I think Milan has kept it, but Houseman saw an opportunity. He went for it, and I think Milan's just gone into him. And for Christian Houseman, well, I mean, he's going to be absolutely livid with that. It looked like secure points for the McLaren, and now the McLaren's got none.
Yeah, it did look of a sloppy defence from Milan there. And there was no way Houseman could have saved that. A little bit of contact just put him out way too much speed, no grip, no braking into turn 1, and he became a passenger into the escape road at Sandoval. And now Cadorningolo is going to be able to fly past Milan, you have to feel, in a moment, and I imagine won't be ending there. Does he have any damage to the side of his car with that contact with the McLaren? And what are the stewards going to say at the end of the race about that incident? Because I have absolutely no doubt in my mind that we're going to have protests popping up about that within the next few hours following this race. So that will be something we will be keeping our eye on as well. Below needs to get past the Ferrari. I thought he was going to do it quite easily, but apparently not through Sandoval this time. Whether he's a little bit sceptical, having seen the manner of defence last lap, we're not entirely sure. Or whether he just had a bit of a poor exit out of Anthony Noakes. But either way, he's still stuck behind Milan for the time being, as we are on the penultimate lap of the race. Let's check in with the race leader for a moment. Still out there in front in the Aston Martin. A couple of laps to go. In fact, he's coming around to start his final lap of the race right about now. And it has been quite a comfy drive for the Aston Martin for the entire race so far. And another fairly disappointing race for his Aston Martin teammate. Not quite as disappointing for Stone, but that double stack has really, really hurt him earlier on. If Cadorningolo and Milan. Timing board having a bit of a moment. Now still running in formation for now, with Cadorningolo still following Milan. But will this be the lap that Cadorningolo makes the move on track? How good the exit out of Anthony Noakes? Down towards turn 1 we go. DRS open for the Mercedes, not for the Ferrari. Look to the outside, covered off. Like that move is going to happen. But are they side by side going up the hill? Almost. It's so close. Up the inside of basically every corner he can. It looked like he was trying to dive at the inside of Massenet there as well. Cadorningolo, he's trying to find any gap he can. Again, he's going to go into Mirabeau as well. He has absolutely not given up on trying to get this overtake done, even though most of the chances, you have to say, for doing it on this final lap of the race are done and dusted. But we'll leave this battle temporarily as we take a look round to La Rascasse. The Aston Martin, the number 12 car, as W.R. Leonard comes across the line to win in Monaco in PSGL F3. Good drive from the Aston mounting throughout the race, but he takes it home with Sindel coming across the line in P2, being demoted to P3, of course, with the penalty, putting Carter Lundy second step off. We'll take a look over to that, and Cadorningolo as we round the final couple of corners. Cadorningolo is still stuck behind Milan for now. The penalties will swap this over in a moment. And Cadorningolo finishes P7 on the road, P6 overall, with Milan dropping down to P8 from that penalty. And typical Monaco style, we had a bit of a train going on through most of that race. We managed to find ourselves some action along the way.
Yeah, we did in the end, obviously with Cordin and Golo, and I think driver of the day, it's just come out Jed Norgrove. I'm going to give it really. I think it probably is either deserved to our race winner Leonard, but also Cordin and Golo, because Cordin and Golo was the only one really looking for a move. The rest of them kind of just said, "Oh well, here's my position. I don't want any fuss," because they know they have fuss and they make it wrong. As we saw with Christine Hausman, who made a fuss. You know, it all goes to pot. Race over, all done, finished. So considering that Cordin and Golo made the moves and everything, I think it is fair he would be one of my other candidates. But considering the performance from Leonard all race long, kept a calm head, didn't exactly do anything silly. He just crossed the line and won the race, obviously by a mile, and. Well, he got pole position, and usually in Monaco, as they say, you get pole position, you've basically won the race. And for Leonard's sake, he has basically gone and done that.
You're absolutely right. He has the first-to-first challenge around Monaco here this evening. The Aston Martin driver taking home his first win of the season, second for Aston Martin. 3 races we've had: Lundy in second and Sendell rounding out the podium. Ecclemire, other championship contender, settling for 5th. And as we saw, Cordon and Golo finishing 6th, well in the Mercedes. And yeah, we've got plenty to talk about. I believe we are probably going to try and grab some drivers for you in a second. And we do have Carter Lundy waiting for interviews already. So we will bring him in. And I know what my first question for Carter Lundy is going to be this evening, because it threw us off a bit. The pit stops. Let us know about the pit stops, Carter, because we were fully going into that race expecting first pit stops to be around about lap 10 to 12, maybe even 14, and then everybody was in on lap 2.
Yeah, well, I did a practice yesterday, and I realized the mediums could go basically the entire race. So I know you can pit as early as you wanted, basically, except lap 1 wouldn't really be good because the softs would still be quicker. And we saw in F1 yesterday people coming in at the end of lap 2, so that was another indicator for when we had to pit. But yeah, the pit stop, that's where I lost the win. I was going to pit lap 2 to get the undercut because it's worth a couple of seconds, and it would have put me in the lead. But I decided to extend one more lap because Leonard didn't pit. And I thought he was going to pit later on, but Sendell pitted behind me, so I knew I had to pit the next lap, and then the Aston Martin also had to pit, so I lost the race in the pit stops. But after that, I just sat in P3, kept it clean. I had 2 warnings for most of the race, so I just drove so slowly to keep it clean, and I am very happy for P2.
Yeah, absolutely. Second P2 of the season, 3rd podium in 3 races. It's a strong start to your championship so far. And it does give you a little bit of a margin now, I believe. Other potential contenders, we were thinking the likes of Ecclemire were going to be quite up there with you, but got a couple of not so great races for him, so it's left you in a fairly comfortable spot at the top so far. A great race nonetheless, and with 2 warnings to your name. That was absolutely very carefully driven towards the end there. I don't know if you've got any questions for Carter, Sam?
Well, I do. France next. What's the track like for you, Carter? Is it a track you like, or is it a track you probably dislike?
I think I can have a lot of people agree with me when I say this, that I don't like the track that much. It's all right for hot lapping, and I think qualifying is going to be pretty important because, well, certainly you're going to have to be in the top 4 because it's going to be a DRS train. So if you're 6th, you're just never going to get an overtake. But yeah, France. Oh.
Yeah, and obviously Monaco today, obviously, it was quite a quiet race. Was there ever sort of a moment, because obviously Monaco requires such big concentration, was there ever a moment in your race where there was a bit of a lapse of concentration, perhaps where you almost put it in the barrier, when obviously you didn't, but where maybe you just kind of fell asleep a little bit?
I mean, it's probably when we were behind the back markers. and we were getting held up. We were going really slowly, just stuff running through my mind, trying to distract me, but I kept focused, which was good.
Yeah, absolutely. Focus key around Monaco, of course. I think we said that far too many times during that race, but nonetheless, hold your focus throughout that one and come home with a podium. Congratulations on that one.
Yeah, thank you.
We'll let you go and celebrate your podium now, and we will pull in our winner for an interview.
Right. Thank you, guys. Bye.
Here's Carter. And so we will grab our race winner now. A race winner, Leonard in the Aston Martin, first win of the season. And all in all, a little bit of a quiet race, but were you sweating much behind the back markers early on, with everybody closing in?
Yeah, definitely a lot. I mean, it's Monaco, so you're basically sweating all the time, because the barriers are right next to you, and if you do one mistake, you're out. And especially with the back markers in front of me, it was really difficult. I think I also touched one of them at some point, but luckily didn't get any wing damage. So yeah, it went quite well.
Yeah, absolutely. It did look like, especially around the hotel hairpin, that you were pushing the Mercedes around a little bit, just trying to eagerly get by, but brilliantly driven nonetheless to a race win.
Thank you.
Your first of the season, and it's a strong start to the season for Aston Martin. 2 race wins from 3 races for the team. Looking pretty strong for the constructors' standings, and also solidifying yourself up there in the drivers' standings. Not today. I mean, another name to the hat for drivers to watch out for. Sam's just asked Carter this question, so we'll ask you as well. We got France coming up next. We've heard Carter's opinion on the circuit. How much are you looking forward to the next round in France?
I like the circuit itself, but the tire temperatures just kill me around there every time. So I'm not really looking forward, although I would really like a wet race there.
Yeah, it's not something we've seen much of so far this season, is wet races. We've had the potential with some of the circuits we do, but the rain gods, the weather gods, haven't given us a wet race as of yet. Any questions from you, Sam?
I think you've really summed it up, really, for me there, Paul. So obviously, big congratulations on the victory, and obviously now it's up to you now to stick with the championship battle, which is lightening up every single race we go to. So yeah, it's going to be a very, very interesting season ahead, and yeah, thanks for making the race entertaining for us.
Yeah, I also got to thank you for commentating on the race, because only very few people do that.
Yeah.
Well, congratulations then, Leonard, for your first race win of the season.
Thank you.
I'm predicting there's going to be a few more throughout the rest of the races we have yet to come.
Yeah, hopefully.
I don't think we have any more drivers waiting for an interview. That will come to a conclusion just now then. So, any closing thoughts from you for tonight, Sam, on the F3 race?
Not really. Obviously, just the fact that it was a split 2, and I think there was clean driving all round, which was very appreciated to see. And the majority of drivers who did turn up and everything, a lot of them put their full effort into it. And obviously, here at PSGL, we are so thankful for it. And particularly a track like Monaco, where a lot of drivers turn it away, it has provided us with some good entertainment. And that is what we're here for. And obviously next week in France, don't forget to join us.
Yeah, absolutely. That was going to be my next point. We are off to France next week, of course. We've had some cracking races to start this season off so far. We've had the Silverstone Thriller last week, the race at Portimao, and now even Monaco has provided us with something we couldn't take our eyes off. Even if it wasn't as action-packed, still couldn't take our eyes off it to the very, very end, with all of the goings on the circuit for Paul Ricard is going to be insane. So all that is left for me to say is make sure to subscribe to the PSGL if you're not already, so you don't miss that race next week, and we'll be here same time, same place for round 4 of the PSGL F3. Yep, don't miss it, and I will see you all next week.